Lately, I've spoken quite a bit about being accepting of people rather than judging them. But I want to be clear on this point. I am not advocating that we condone sin. On the contrary, Jesus never did that. But he did lovingly accept sinners and forgive them. So why are some of us still trying to stone people? In the last video, I mentioned how a lot of churchgoers today are a lot like the Pharisees were. I feel I need to expound on that a little, so we're going to look at the early verses of John chapter 8 to gain some perspective. Remember, the Pharisees hated Jesus. They were always trying to trap him somehow with questions of right and wrong. Now, John chapter 8 verses 1 through 12 tells how they tried to trick Jesus, yet again, in front of a bunch of people who were listening to him teach. Having caught a woman in the act of committing adultery, they had arrested her and were going to stone her. That was what the law required for such an offense. But they decided first to take her before Jesus. See, they figured if they took her to Jesus and asked him what to do with her, there was no way he could answer without getting himself in trouble. If Jesus said, "Let her go," which a lot of them probably thought he would since he was always teaching about love and forgiveness, then they could stone him right along with her because that was condoning one's sin, or sin by association. But then if he said to stone her, well, then all these people sitting around listening to him talk about love would probably leave because they're going to know that stoning somebody to death is not the best way to show them that you love them. So they thought they had Jesus for sure this time. And they said, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says that such as she should be stoned. But what do you say?" Now, the last time I checked, in order to be caught in the act, there had to be somebody else there. Why do you suppose they didn't bring the guy that she was caught with there too? Well, perhaps when the scribes and Pharisees kicked down the door, they found that her lover was a scribe or a Pharisee. Maybe. But Jesus didn't even answer them. He just stooped down and started writing in the dirt. And now they're mad because he seems to be ignoring them. So they pressed him further, again asking what they should do with this woman. So Jesus raised up and said, "Any of you here without sin, you go ahead and throw the first stone." And then he squatted down and wrote in the dirt again. And something amazing happened. The words of Jesus echoed in their minds and convicted them in their hearts. Those of you who want to kill this woman for her lust, then you who have never lusted get to do the killing. Who has never lusted in your heart? Who has never lusted in your mind? You get to cast the first stone. And yes, even Pharisees can be convicted. And they were, big time. Verse 9 says that when they heard it, being convicted in their conscience, they began to leave until they were all gone. And this woman, now kneeling face down on the ground, who expected at any moment to feel sharp, jagged rocks to begin to pummel down on her, instead realized that the noise of the crowd had left. And when she looked up, the only one she saw was Jesus. And he asked her, "Where are your accusers? Who is here to condemn you?" And she answered, "No one, Lord." And in an act of love that would later be echoed on the cross, Jesus said, "No, I don't condemn you. I forgive you. Now go and sin no more." And she left there with what we all at one time or another so desperately need: a second chance. As Christians, our duty is to love people like that. Love them enough to recognize the sin, but show them grace and offer a better path than that of sin. I heard one person put it this way: we are practicing Christianity because none of us is perfect. Sinful thoughts may come, but we choose whether or not to act and whether or not to let sin gain a foothold and become a way of life. Jesus taught a better way. In verse 12, he said, "I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life." Are you walking in that light? Are you showing it to others? Or are you judging them and turning them away? No one ever won any friends by throwing rocks at them. So if you call yourself a Christian, put down the stones and show people the same grace that Christ showed you.